That being said, tonight we've got a guest who represents the kind of story Louisiana produces so well: grit, talent, and a heart for people. He grew up right here in Louisiana, chasing a passion for music that would eventually take him all the way to the national stage as a finalist on Nashville Star. But what's impressive isn't just where he's been, it's how he's used that platform. Over the years, he's built a career not only as a country artist and songwriter, but as someone who uses music to make a real impact. Through his work with Songs of Survivors, he's helped people give people a voice with a powerful, often difficult stories, turning those experiences into songs that matter to them. He's got deep roots, real perspective, and a journey that's still unfolding. Let's welcome to Louisiana Country Music Live, my buddy, Mr. David St. Romain.
What's up, Ronnie? How are you, brother?
What's up, bro? How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. Goodness, I'm trying not to tear up on that intro. I was just,
Man, I'm
if you
looking
know me,
down.
you know I'll tear up pretty quickly.
I know, bro.
But
I'm looking down, man. My heart's full right now. I see Bubba in there, but I see Denise in there too. She says, "Hey, Ronnie, what's up, Denise? It's been a long time. Miss you. And I hope you're doing well."
I have such incredible family and friends and just people who have been there from the beginning. It's crazy how time has flown so fast, huh?
Yeah, it is, man. It is. I'm not gonna say we're getting old, but we're getting older.
Well, we'll tell them about some of our introduction stories and also really your prediction story. That was
Yeah.
that was a special day, and I think we can get into that. We got enough time, but I'm excited to talk about that and uh, how that story was so impactful that day, wasn't it? I
Oh
mean,
man, dude.
I remember the
What it,
title of the song that we wrote, "Running in Circles." And
yeah,
and your prediction. And so
yeah.
anyhow, thank you so much for having me on, man. And I mean, I'm so proud of you and the team and Alex and just everybody coming together, promoting Louisiana music, Louisiana talent, Louisiana supporters like Brittany, and how she plays a part in our industry. And you and I get a chance now to talk on a different level, which is kind of interesting, to see how it's turned and where we are in full circle mode now.
We've been at it for a long time, man. I'm looking at these comments over here too. We got Kathy Neto. She says, "Hey, we love David." Hey,
Oh, I
David,
love you too,
Kathy, Chase's
Kathy.
mom here.
Yeah, it's Mama.
You know,
Yeah,
she said we go back a
I
long
remember
way.
her in the beginning, and her first reaching out to Dan, Tyler, and us all talking about Chase, and when he was a young man, we were all younger, much younger.
We've got Heather Ledbetter Trice in the
Yeah.
house. We got Bubba Ploche. We got Denise. We got Kathy. We've got Sissy Ploche. We've got
Oh,
Debbie Carney
sis.
DeGroy. And we got your brother in the house. He says the man,
Oh
the myth.
man. Oh God. Watch the comments now. They're
Skills
gonna
in
get
the house.
wild.
Oh, bro, man.
You
I
never
love
know
it,
what's going to
man.
happen now. So if y'all really want to see the show, go to the comment section and just watch along.
Oh,
Here it comes.
dude, we go back, man, probably over 20 years, dude, and we've
Yeah.
been buddies ever since we met. And so I had to make some good notes tonight, so I don't get too off track, because I know we could sit here and talk all night. And I want to give you your justice, man, and I want everybody to hear your story. So I don't want to get off track too far. So that's why I kind of made some good notes. But let's
Yeah,
start
man.
out, dude. Let's dive in, man, and let's go back before we met, man. And this question will be relevant for something we're going to get into a little bit later. But you went to high school in Baton Rouge, and then, if I'm not mistaken, you joined the Louisiana Army National Guard. So let's talk about that National Guard experience and what that part of your life meant to you.
Well, right after high school, I had, planned on becoming a rock star. And so I decided to move to Nashville about 3 weeks after I graduated high school, thanks to some friends who had a couch that I could sleep on. Well, that lasted about 3 months. And I decided, after realizing I knew nothing about the business, I moved back home. And that's when my plan to changed a little bit. Hey, I'll go to school and maybe get an accounting degree, which was what I wanted to major in. because I was always good with numbers. Uh, which is not surprising for musicians. For you non-musicians out there, musicians are typically pretty good at math. And I don't know why, but that just seems to be something that I find. But they
You
call
got
it
to
the
at least be
national
able to
number.
count to four.
Say it again.
You have to at least be able to count to four.
Yeah, exactly. And the national number system, and that
Yeah.
whole mess. But and so I decided that the way to go to college, since given my what I had available, was going to be the National Guard. I had a brother who was already in the military for already about, I guess, 6 or 7, maybe 7.5 years, and so that made sense. And so I joined the Guard and did my basic one summer. Then I went and served for a year, and then did my AIT the next summer. But music was already a big driving force for me. So I always I had some interesting experiences with the Guard where I would be entertaining the whole, AT during the summer. I would entertain them at the end of our AT. And got away with a lot because of my abilities to politic. And so that was always fun. I actually, because in 1999, I did about 2 years, and around December of '99, I moved to Nashville for, I guess, the second time, but officially moved there and got a place and all that, and stayed there for a few years. But my military commitment changed. I had a really great commander who put me on IRR status, which is called Individual Ready Reserve status, which basically it's like an inactive. So you just wait and wait till they either decide to call you or they don't. And they never called. So my military full-time experience at that point, or my real experience, stopped there in 1999, late '99.
Okay. We our buddy Dustin Saunier has hopped in the comments.
What
Said
up,
yeah,
D?
and Alex and Dustin both said they suck at math, so they don't know. They don't know what you're talking about on that one. Let's. I've known your families for a long time, man. So I already know a little bit about this answer, man. But tell us about the role that music played in your household growing up. I already know Pop's doing his thing.
Yeah, so before we were born, Dad had an Elvis show in Central Louisiana in the Alexandria area where he was doing Elvis. He always did music. My grandmother was a great singer, his mother. Um, so I guess music was always in the house, and he was always singing in the car. And I remember being in the back seat listening to him singing along. And I think I got the bug really at it was used to be a plant out here called Ciba Geigy. I think it's called maybe something else, Shintech or something now, but it's a plant out in St. Gabriel. Um, and they had like an employee meeting, and my mom, or like an employee Christmas party, and my mom worked there at the time, and they had hired a band, kind of like, I don't know, they were in all matching tuxedos and had the colorful microphones and all that. It was, it was interesting, but it was a party band, and I got the bug there. I'm like, I want to do that. And I felt like I was there was something unique. I wanted my first band push, I think, was in fourth grade. I'm like, I want to start a band and sing Def Leppard. And, that turned into nothing. And then in sixth grade, I sang the first time in public, really in the talent show at a school. And that was, we had a short stint of my early childhood in Florida. But during that time, I was in Florida. And so that was the first time I'd ever sang in front of people, and talent show there, the next year talent show, the next year talent show, and then just kept honing in that skill. So I was really young, about 10 years old, when I grabbed a guitar and a Mel Bay book and decided I was going to drive my parents crazy and learn how to play guitar.
So you started singing then at a very early age, and then playing
Yeah.
guitar around 10. Yeah.
Yeah. It was, and then, throughout high school, by the time I graduated high school, I had already been sort of made my way. I already knew that it was going to be music. I mean, it was just clearly evident that that was, and Sissy can vouch for that. So I was in high school, you know, doing all of the talent shows, the choir performances. Actually, she sent me a link to a rehearsal of show choir, which I won't share with you. Um, Sissy, do not post that in the chat. It's pretty
Please,
funny to see me in
please.
a bow tie and cummerbund
Oh
sequence.
man. Bubba said Cora. That must be the name of the plant you were trying to think of. Is that right?
Cora, yeah, sorry, I didn't know the name now, but yeah,
That's funny, man.
so it was, you know, right after high school, I moved to Nashville. Then I came back, and even through military, I knew the National Guard, and while I was at Southeastern, when I went to college, I started playing those little bars in Southeastern area. What's now Kate Street Pub was Mules. The first night, I was the first person to ever sing there. Hell, I was the first person to ever sing at walk-ons in Baton Rouge, the first walk-ons. And I mean, you
Yeah,
were probably there, I'm sure.
I think that's
And
where we met. Yeah,
yeah, we met there, but it was a different night, the
yeah.
first night they opened. But
I
yeah,
was
and then
probably there then too.
yeah, we were there. Yeah, I'm sure you were there. And like that first night, I mean, I started playing the local areas and just really putting myself out there, and that's when you and I met. You know, then I moved to Nashville in '99 to make my first album with Dan Tyler and the team that he had assembled. Greg Morrow, Tony Harrell, Bobby Field, R.S. Field, all very, very successful Nashville players. And
Mhm.
Bobby R.S. was a producer who had produced some major albums on a more of an Americana era. But we made a great record in 2000 and 2001, put it out officially '02, but that record, you know, didn't really go anywhere. And so I had moved to Nashville. So I was starting to assemble a band, and we started to hit the road and really, you know, make no money trying to survive, doing it the old school model. You know, you go out and you play a bar, you hope to get some fans, and you build it from there. But that was prior to TikTok, prior to Instagram, and this thing that we're on right now. You know, I always was somewhat of an innovator of technology. I used Ustream when it first came out. That was probably the first platform to do streaming. I remember getting a bill one time from Sprint for like 3 grand because I had tapped into my bullshit little phone and figured out how to connect it to my laptop and turn it into a modem. And so yeah, so I mean, I was always trying to figure it out. I bought my website, my domain in 2001, right
Right.
after you know, the big boom of the web. But the record never really went anywhere, and moved back from Nashville, got married for the first time. And while my wife was pregnant, I had met you during right about that time, and we were at
Mhm.
walk-ons. I was playing a regular gig on the bar. If you remember, is like where they shuck
Yeah.
the oysters. Literally, I was standing on the bar, sitting on the bar,
Yeah.
and you were like, "Hey man, we need to go listen to this Pat Green," and so we did, and that was all over at that point. You and I became partners, and we started hanging out,
Yeah.
um, and then you and I got together one day. We you know, you were a songwriter, and I was sort of really just trying to tap into that songwriting thing, and you were like, "Man, let's write a song." And so you came over to my house one day, and you looked at me right off the bat, and this is the story I was talking about earlier. You looked at me right off the bat in that day, and you said, "Something big is going to happen for you, David. I just feel it. Something big is going to happen." And we started writing, and then my phone rang, and Billy Block was on the other line. And Billy Block from Nashville, Tennessee, from Western Beat, was his show that he had on CMT. And Billy had a show every week in Nashville at the Exit Inn, but he was known as a promoter, and he was known as a, you know, somebody who is a talent finder. And Billy was commissioned, hired to find talent for a TV show called Nashville Star on USA Network. And he said, "I really think you would be a great fit for this show." And I just couldn't believe it. I never forgot that. I was like, "Ronnie called this shit, bro.
I
He
remember you looking
called
back
it."
at me going,
And so it was like the biggest. Yeah, I'm like, holy crap, what is going on right now? So we, yeah, man, that happened. That's real, and that's in the book. And so I ended up. My wife at the time was pregnant for our first daughter, and she was due in October. And I went through the initial tryouts. Myself and a very well known artist now named Casey Musgraves. Casey was on the show with me. And the good story gets to the end is that I made third place on the show. But the real good story was that my daughter was born literally a month before the show started, a month and a half. And I left Baton Rouge with a month and a half year old, uh, leaving my child on December 26th of that year in 2008.
Yep.
And I mean 2006, excuse me, and then got on the 2007 show, and the rest is history. I got third place on the show. I mean, the this is a long story, but
I was
I
about to
met
back you up because I'm like, we got to come back. We got to come. Don't go too far.
what you need. I'll pause there. Where bring me back, take me back,
So,
just like the
I,
Vidalia
I
song.
want to go back. One of the first songs that I heard you sing. First time I heard you sing, I was like, "Wow, this guy is freaking amazing talent." And I want to say one of the first songs
Thank
that
you,
I
brother.
that I remember hearing you sing was like Van Morrison, I believe. So I wanted to talk about, and you've done so much different types of music. So what are some of those early influences that kind of got you started?
So when I was in ninth grade, we had an R&B group. And so we were doing like Boys to Men, Shy, Silk, like singing all these like a cappella songs. It was two white dudes and four black guys.
Yeah, so you got any videos of this? This is another one I want to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and we actually got a gig in place of one of like this was while Backstreet Boys was doing their like tours in schools and early NSYNC days and stuff. So it was kind of fitting in that genre. But at the same time, I really, really was into metal. And so we listened to like we were hardcore Metallica fans. We were living, I was living in Florida at the time. And this was, so we actually spent the night out all night at the sound shop or the CD store or whatever it was called. That's where you'd buy tickets for concerts, and we stayed out all night long and slept at the store and waited, and we bought tickets to the Metallica Guns N' Roses Faith No More show in 1992, and that was the first biggest show I had ever seen. And actually, I had gotten into a fight with a guy the day before, and I mean this story's gonna get good, and so it turned out not so good for him, but not because of me. He was like 100 pounds more than me because I was like 93 pounds soaking wet at the time. But it was just the next day. My dad gets a call because I'm not going to school because of the concert, and my dad's like, "No, he's doing research on his career, going to this concert because they wouldn't excuse the absence." It was good, but even my dad knew at that time, like he knew I wanted to do this, and I was in
Yeah,
14 years old, and um, so I was already playing Metallica, but somehow my voice was this mix between soul and rock and heavy rock, and it met somewhere in the middle at country. And I think like almost like Stapleton is that bluegrass and soul music comes together, and all of a sudden it's like soulful country.
yeah,
And I think that was a big thing. But going back to your Van Morrison comment, I was living in Nashville when I moved in '99, and I was living with a friend of mine, older lady who um, was really cool, man. We'd sit back and chill and just hang out, and she was just a cool ass lady. And we worked together at the Staples out in Bellevue. That's how we met. Well, she was like, I don't know if you've really listened to Van Morrison at all, but she popped in Tupelo Honey.
yeah.
And from there, dude, I just fell in love with Van Morrison. And I'm not one to quote songs and quote albums. That's just not who I am. I live in my own musical bubble. My memory of names of songs, and I deal with that with memorizing people's names, but it's just terrible. But I know what I feel, and what I feel, excuse me, what I feel is that I can feel the soul in it. I can feel the heartbeat of it. And so when I hear a song and it makes me cry, I mean that's really where I, even when I'm writing now, it really, it's kind of something that really stands out to me. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think, Garth Brooks became a pretty big influence in the '90s. He was so big. I remember his album being, one of the first album CDs in our house, and so listening to Garth, and we have the same birthday, so that was always cool. And it's really cool now because when I see it in Country Air Check, which is our cheerleader for country radio, if, for all you non-country music industry people, um, you get to see the birthdays, and mine always shows up, and it's next to Garth Brooks' birthday. So I'm like, hell yeah, that's cool.
That's not for yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, now I think now I'm still influenced now. I'm influenced by the the songwriters that I got that I learn about, whether or not I'm introduced to them through people, or just checking, finding them myself.
What about so those early years? You've always been a good performer on stage. What did those early years look like as far as like learning the stage, learning writing, everything that goes with being an artist? How long did it take to find yourself as an artist? Because it's usually not an overnight thing for artists, right?
Wow, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's probably the one of the kindest things you could have said right there, man. Because I think just finding yourself as an artist, the fact that you think I found myself is wonderful. I think sometimes I'm disconnected from that, but that's the devil in you that trying to blind you. But I think for me, from an early childhood, I love to be on stage. I love to be the center of attention. um, you know, I try not to do that in the room. I try not to come in and take the attention from people, and that really has a lot to do with the work that I'm doing now. But it's I always loved to be on stage, and I remember one of the early shows with Blake Shelton saying to me as a judge on the show on Nashville Star. He said it was the first show. He's like, "Man, I love your confidence on stage," and like I think I just heard you're a great singer enough times, I think, to just believe. And I really heard a great quote earlier today. Actually, I was freaking getting lost in the Instagram reel bubble, just this, what do you call it when you're just
Yeah.
stuck in the cycle? Yeah, and the hole, excuse me, the Instagram reel hole. And so, and this guy came up and he was interviewing this billionaire, and she just went into, I believe that I can do this. I believe I can sit at the table. And that's what I think it is now. I just believe that I can get on stage with anyone at this point, and be able to do it at a level that is respectable, and is just have the ability to be comfortable in front of people. I mean, it's still scary. You get in front of, I get nervous every time I step out on stage. I still get nervous. I shake and deal with some of that. But I mean, it's also once you settle in and you get in it, and I mean, it's those nerves I never want to go away, you know?
That's funny, man. I remember this hitting on my notes, but I can remember it was like after a football game, man. But back to walk-ons back in the day, I
Yeah.
remember walking to walk-ons after a football game, and somebody being like, "Dude, they got a band out back." It was like a little trailer that was pulled up outside of the outside patio. It was
Yeah.
before the outside patio had a roof, I think. And they were like, "Bro, this dude's rocking. He took his shirt off," and I was like, "All right, cool." But I went out back. I was like, "That's David."
Did I fall over the bus that day? Was that the day I fell over?
I think it was.
I'm playing and I'm leaning against the front rail of this bus that they've gutted and made a bandstand, and cut the side out of it. And
Yeah,
it's so
you
wet
did.
and sweaty and humid in there that I'm barefooted. My feet slip from underneath me, and I do a full turnover of the rail, and I still held my guitar in my hand somehow and landed on my feet and kept going, bro. It was so awesome. It was hilarious. Yeah, I talk about that couple of the musicians that were with me that night, they laughed, man. But that's the kind of experiences. I mean, I went into bars across the country in Casper, Wyoming, and I had guns pulled on me. I've had, you know, uh, every type of scenario where a guy, where it's this guy's trying to fight me, who's just drunk in Cheyenne, and played all those west, north Nevada, Elko, Nevada, up in those northern Nevada areas, and I cut my feet. I mean, I cut my teeth out there and just pounded the pavement for that was probably about 6 years of doing that.
Yeah.
And then, by that time I was playing with guys that were really great and kind of had my chops up enough to be able to, I became a musician, I think, and realized that I can actually play, and which sometimes I question that still, but I think that's just getting older. But it's, people ask me how long you've been playing now, and I'm like, oh God, 36 years,
Yeah.
and so that really, after doing it, as far as like my dance moves and stuff, bro, I was in show choir, man. I mean, come on. No, I mean, you just learn, baby. I mean, just
Yeah.
after a while, you just do it and keep doing it and not be scared. I mean,
That's interesting about the nerves though, because you do, if somebody just saw you on stage, they wouldn't know that. So that's interesting. I never knew that really. I never knew that you got nervous every time you were up. But
yeah, I think the nerves come from I want to do a great job.
yeah,
I want it to be I want the audience to like what I'm doing and to want and a lot of times I've learned not to assume that they're feeling a certain way because we know what assuming does. Uh, but I think it's turned out the opposite most of the time. I'm like, oh, they're not digging it, and then at the end of the night, they're like, man, you were great,
yeah,
and it's like that's a lot of the mental health side of it, the self worth, the self esteem,
yeah,
and that I really the big elephant in the room for me was that when I got on stage, I didn't have to be the person that I was when I was not on stage. I really struggled to be the same person because deep down inside I had trauma and pain and
mhm,
self-worth issues and self-esteem issues that I probably compensated on stage as much as I could and
yeah,
masked it. And so
yeah. Almost like a different person. Yeah, able to escape for a little while. It makes sense.
yeah,
Uh,
put on a
yeah,
mask and just
yeah,
get on stage and I wrote a song and it's been probably the storyteller of my childhood trauma, and so that led me to working on a book and the future,
mhm.
and a new album. So I'm excited to talk about that in a little while.
Yeah. We'll definitely talk about that before we get out of here, man. Um,
I'm not looking
man,
at
when
time,
so
so I should start doing that, huh? Oh yeah, I
so
need to get on with it.
when you went to Nashville, man, like we've both been going there for a long time, man, and we know that it's a lot different today than it was whenever you first started going there.
Oh
For
yeah,
better and worse, there's some ways, it's different.
I
Um,
don't even know what
what
it's like now, to be honest with
what
you.
was it? What was it like being trying to break into business back then, man?
Well, I had two real swings. My first swing was in 2000, uh, before we had finished my first album. That album was a production deal to get a record deal, and I was walked through every major label, met with every A&R senior director of every label, Mike Dungan, Blake Chansey, some of the older generation. Luke Lewis really was fond of me and really helped supported me and wanted to sign me at Mercury. Ended up not getting the deal. David Nail and Steve Azar ended up. That was when he signed. When they signed those guys, and two very talented guys. David's still doing his thing. I keep up with, uh, but I had my second swing back in 2011, and really. but even throughout those years, I was working with producer. I mean, we were trying different angles to get me a record deal. Never could get a record deal, major record deal. And I think so. I was disappointed in that because you don't have one shot in the business, but you definitely can, shoot your shot, and then you got to go out and prove it at that point. And that's when I think where the models changed is that now I believe it's you got to go out and prove yourself to a certain level before it's even worth a label, or even for you as an artist to go out and seek a label or any
Yeah.
partnerships or management or whatnot, until you're making enough money to make it worthwhile for the manager, or you've got a cut and to make it worthwhile for a publisher, or you've got enough followers in your own empire
Yeah.
going.
I think that like that people still think that there's like artist development deals and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
like that the models change. It's not like these guys walk into a bar and they're like, "You're amazing. I'm going to sign you and develop you and put $5 million behind you."
I
It's
think they
basic.
shifted that job to
Those,
different people. I
those
think
are
it
the
became,
outliers now. Those are
yeah,
the
it's now
outliers.
the,
Now it's like scanning TikTok and YouTube. It's like, oh, this guy's got a huge following and one great song. We can milk this and whatever after that, you
or it
know?
becomes something real. And you see
Yeah.
like a Zach Top who,
Yeah. Or it
you
becomes something
know,
real. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, or Bailey. I mean, I just saw Bailey Zimmerman as, I'm not the biggest musical fan. I think he's a cool guy. I like his little thing, or his thing, excuse me. It's not little when it comes to
Yeah.
his career, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But to see him with the success he's had, and he came off of TikTok, and I mean, you can't knock the platform for
Oh,
sure. It just shifts, the mediums shift. And I think now for us older guys, I think it becomes of identify who your audience is and meet them where they are. And
yeah.
so that's where my career after Nashville Star, changes in my personal life, and then having three children eventually. I ended up back in Baton Rouge and stayed here, started working on other ways and means to support my family while I was still sort of figuring it out. There was a few years of kind of chilling and not playing very much. I worked on a record with you and with Vidalia with that band with Matt Tortorich, which I thought was an incredible album and a good timing for me to just do another album with someone else I had never done before. So that was cool. And then around that, that's when I started shifting my focus. I think God was leading me in a different direction, and how do I take my talent elsewhere?
Yeah. Man, I was thinking about this earlier today, dude. So you were one of the you were one of the first Louisiana guys that I know of. It may be the earliest country music wise, but you were definitely one of the earlier ones to be on a national show because
And
American
I was
Idol.
definitely there was one guy on American Idol out of Vidalia area. Um, but I was the first one to make a show after Britney Spears. And
Because
so
there was only
Star
American
Search.
Idol was only 3 or 4 years old when Nashville Star
Right.
came, and now we've got a lot of Louisiana people who have been on it. But I mean, you were one of the first ones, man, and that's just a. I remember talking to you a lot during that, and like
Oh
trying to
yeah.
figure out a lot of stuff. But let's talk a little bit about. I think people are interested in knowing like a little bit about what's that like behind the scenes, especially back
During
then.
the
You know,
show.
yeah, just like
Yeah.
the
So I
process,
mean it
like
was, imagine controlled chaos first off. And I mean there's probably well, it's almost, and you're also cattle that you don't know where you're going, right? Like you don't know what the schedules are, you don't, other than that every day is going to be some type of rehearsal, or we're going to be shooting something at a sponsor like Sonic. We did a lot of stuff with Sonic because they were a big sponsor for the show. And then we flew to Jules' house out in Texas and we shot some stuff at her house. That was not a good day for me. She was not very nice to me on camera. Off camera, she was wonderful, and but on camera, she was hard on me, to say the least. But we had always had a good time. That's for sure. We definitely made the most out of it. Um, I don't want to give away all the
yeah,
details because a lot of that stuff's going to be out in my book.
Okay.
And so, but I will say that we always had a good time. We definitely, there might have been a few little added substances here and there, but we always had a good time. Me and Zach and Angela were kind of buddied up early on because Angela won the show eventually. Zach got second and I got third. But the three of us knew right off the bat that we were, you know, we knew the talent level that was there in all three of us, and we really believed in each other. It was really kind of cool. Our friendships got real strong, and yeah, man. I mean, I met so many different people, major artists. I really thought my career was going to take off at that point. So I'm thinking these are people that I'm making my way. I'm starting to meet these people. Randy Owen was the judge with Blake Shelton, Randy from Alabama, and a music supervisor who was married to Tony Brown at one time. It was also a judge, and so we, I some of the cool people I met. The bass player from Firehouse, he was Craig Morgan's bass player, Perry. I mean, that was like a cool thing when I figured out he was in Firehouse, like from back in the '80s. But every day it was high. Like we were 12 hours doing work. The work was shot blocking, practicing where we're going to stand, what we're going to do that week. It was almost like theater rehearsals, actually in the Roy Acuff Theater in Opryland Hotel, and we stayed at Opryland Hotel for those. I had a room there for 3 months, which I didn't sleep there because I had my boy Lapsley lived in town. So I stayed at his house a lot out in East Nashville because I kind of felt like I was part of the fabric already of Nashville. I had been there, I delivered pizzas there. I mean, I had friends there. So
Yeah.
it was it was really the most incredible experience I ever had in my life. I thought, this is it. This is it. This is gonna happen. And um I got one of the coolest, another great story. The person that picked me up from the airport. Uh, I didn't, unbeknownst to me, until the last show of the entire show, the last episode was Randy Owen's daughter, and her and I became great friends throughout the show. And she kind of hid the fact that she was his daughter the whole show. I had talked to her sister on the phone and just told her sister I was going to beat up the boy that stood her up for homecoming. Like it was I was being my normal David, just being me. And me and Allison became really close, tight friends. And then at the end of the show, I realized it. It all came to me. And since the show, I'm still close with Allison. I'm still close with Randy and his family, and saw them when they came to Natchez not too long ago, up in your neck of the woods, Vidalia area, and a
Right.
few years back. But anyways, I mean, like I said, the show was awesome. Um, the last show, you'll find out in my book about how that went down. So
Nice. Did you have pretty well control over what you were going to sing, or were
they
they
gave
telling
us
you
So they
some
gave us,
options?
yeah, they pretty much said anything that's in country music, we can get clearances for. Well, it turned out, I mean, I have my own story to go along with this. But I don't know how much time we have, but I could just tell you that the they stopped me from singing a song because I think they knew I would change the outcome of the show, and it didn't align with what they wanted to happen for the
Yeah.
show, because there was a brother and a sister competing, and they really wanted those two to compete head to head in the end, which is what ultimately happened. But they kind of forced me to pick an alternate song that I had put in my original application, and they were like, "You're going to sing this instead," and I was like, hey, I didn't really have a choice. It wasn't up to me. And then they actually framed the show to claim that my wife at the time picked that song for me instead of them. And so I called them out after the show, because I'm still friends with the boys who produced the show. I mean, I talked to them. Went to their wedding 10 years later. I mean, it's I'm still buddies with them, and I give them a hard time, and they tell me, "Oh no, it was this guy," and so you can't. They throw the other guy under the bus, but it's show business. It's part of the game, and I'm willing to play. I was willing to play the game as best as I knew fit. I knew that keep the audience uh, focused on who you are as a person, And for me, it was about my brand new baby, about my wife. I look back, I kind of look back at it sometimes, and I'm going kind of shaking my head at what I said, but at the same time, what's the
That's
worst I ever
everybody.
said is that, yeah, of course, everybody's going to feel that way in some way, but the worst is that I cared at the most about my family at the time and doing my family right. And that's there's nothing better than that. I mean, what's wrong with that?
Do you feel like that you learned anything about yourself as an artist going through a process like that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Did it force you to be uncomfortable and like did it force growth or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think it forced me to step up. It was like step it up because you're now in front of 4 million people. And
Yeah.
so I was pretty careless in some cases. And again, you'll hear more about that in the book, but
Yeah.
there were times where I probably could have handled it a little bit more responsibly. But I don't know that that really affected it. I don't believe it did. But I did. In the end, I definitely grew. Um, I also realized how fragile and that nothing's a guarantee. I heard my whole life, like, I can get you a record deal. I can get you a record deal. And then nothing ever happens. I got on a TV show and had 400,000, 500,000 votes and still couldn't get a record deal in 2007. And so something was not lining up for me. And it was whatever it is, I don't know. But it turned out to be pretty awesome because, if you fast forward into the future and you look at the fact that I got to see my children grow up. I wasn't on the road on tour. Um, I got to see my two girls grow up, and now my son is 11, and I'm still getting to see him and be a part of his life. Uh, and I get to do everything I want to do now. I'm not bound. I still own everything I ever put out, publishing and albums, and God's really put me in a great spot. And so I really feel honored to be
Yeah,
where
no
I'm at
doubt.
already. I haven't even talked about the songs of survivors, but you
Yeah,
know,
we're about to get there shortly. I did want to hit on a little bit about the music. Like I tell everybody, we don't dwell on the music in here because we like to get to know you as a person more. But you put out quite a bit of singles and albums and EPs over the years, and you produced some others, had some other artists cut stuff and all of
yeah,
that. But outside of, I mean, the Go Bama, Go Tigers beat Bama was its own thing. But outside of that, would you say that probably like 20 years late was probably like what fans probably asked for the most?
absolutely. And some of my hardcore fans go back to that first record. That's really because I don't have that many. But the ones I do have are a lot of close friends. They become friends. People that start off as fans a lot of time become your friends and your biggest supporters. And when you feel alone on an island, sometimes it's those people are the best people in the world to you. They've been like Denise and Brian, of course. Brian was not really a fan; he was always a friend. But
Yeah.
but it's like um, those people. But I I think you know it just really I just couldn't. I don't know. I thought about quitting one day, and then that was right about the time you asked me to make a song with you. That you had written a new song and what I consider joining Vidalia. Um, and I around. I mean, a lot's changed for me. A lot changed for me around 2000 and like 17, 16, and 17 is really when I started hearing that, hey, you need to do more than just be an entertainer and a singer. And so um, I started feeling this pull, and I started reaching out to people and telling them, hey, I want to do something. Maybe I could help go play for people who maybe kids who are in an orphanage. I had a good experience with Randy Owen when he had a golf tournament every year in Alabama. Rick Hall from Fame, the famous Rick Hall
Oh,
who
yeah.
produced Aretha Franklin and all these, I got to spend time with Rick Hall. And Rick's mom and dad's house is actually the Alabama Sheriff's Youth Ranch's house for kids, for girls. And during the golf tournament one year, and I went in Muscle Shoals, I drove over to the house and I played for the girls, and I played them a song that was about my trauma, and they and it really meant a lot. So it was kind of a inspiration for me to start thinking maybe I need to be doing more than just singing for people and entertaining them. And that's when um, someone came to me and said, "Hey, we have this human trafficking home here in Baton Rouge where maybe you can go and play for these girls that have been rescued." And that while I was there, I had an epiphany. Praise God for that. It was an amazing moment where God said, "You're not supposed to sing for them. You're supposed to write with them and let them tell their stories. And you have the skill to write. Why don't you use that?" So it all turned full circle. I mean,
Yeah.
my philanthropic and giving spirit, I was able to utilize music, and the thing that I love to do is make music, and I'd really like to entertain too. So I don't do that as much. I really wish I played more, which is sad, but because it's just time constraints because I've got myself in so many different things. But we the Songs of Survivors was born out of that idea. Did some work with the Lieutenant Governor, our great friend, Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser, in a pilot program to start working with veterans. And then that turned into officially a nonprofit where I do songwriting workshops with veterans around Louisiana, and I bring veterans together along with my partner in crime, and also my book writer and administrative director Susie Mustafa, who is a New York Times bestselling author. And so um, she came along around 23. I hadn't seen her in 20 years, and she walked in one day, and I said, "You're supposed to do more with me than just come hear me sing. You're supposed to write my book." And so we started working on a book, and then I brought her on to come help me with the nonprofit. And since I started the nonprofit, we've served over 300 veterans around Louisiana. We've written, shoot, I don't really know, maybe 30, 35 songs, something like that. We're set to do 18 workshops total this year in the state, which is quadrupling the numbers, where we've been able to raise the funds to do it. And so I really feel honored. Like, I feel like this has really taken my whole career into a different direction. And I do some other things too to kind of keep the bills paid and the lights on, but still play.
Yeah.
Most of my performances are in private settings, but I do. I'm playing at the Mercy Fair next weekend, so I'm excited about that. I've kind of moved out of the main headliner slot and let the other. I'm a few years past that now, and the Chase Tylers have taken that on, and
The young bucks. Yeah.
yeah, the Young Bucks, and I'm proud of them, man. I love seeing the talent, and Timothy Wayne and I got a chance to write together. Who knows, we may have a song that ends up somewhere. And so, I've been able to continue writing. I'm writing all the time. Me and Susie are writing. We just wrote a new one the other day, and I'm working on a new album. And I think with this, this is all coming together. The book is going to be titled "This Hole in Me," and the title of my song that I wrote about my trauma is called "This Hole in Me." So it'll be the title track to the album that will accompany the book. Uh, and so I'm excited about that. We've been writing a ton for it, getting ready for it. And so at all corners, man, music just keeps being the core of what I get to do. And even in our political world, and how we almost reconnected even more
Yeah.
through the Travel Association and
Yeah.
the
Brett.
associations here in the state, and been able
Yeah.
to connect with you and see the great work you're doing. I mean, man, it's awesome.
It's funny, man. I think we just all evolve, and I think once you find a passion, I think you should always go towards that. And I think that's what you're
Yeah.
doing, just using different avenues to use that whatever God gave you,
Right.
different ways to get it out. And I think as we grow older, I think the natural progression it's less about us and it becomes more about other people.
Yeah.
Naturally, that's the way it should be, I guess. Is we'll
Yeah.
start. How can I serve others versus we're like, I'm not as worried about myself now. I love serving others, and I think that's what you're doing, just evolving and serving, and but still able to use those talents. I mean, I think it's
I
wonderful,
appreciate it.
man.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'm super proud about the work we're doing. I mean, it's it's awesome. I mean, I mean, it's tough sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, man, I really don't want to go do this, like any day. But it's it gives me a good reason and a purpose that is unique, a very unique position here in Louisiana. We don't have any other organization officially doing this. There are only a few in the country. Creative Vets is a great one. They do great work in Nashville, and Operation Song, another great one. Um, but I think that we have our own seat at the table, and I think that what I'm also very interested in doing is supporting you and supporting our industry in Louisiana in a very in more in a larger scope level, and thinking about the future of Louisiana music, and where how we can help support that long term and really help with the legacy of it. And so I think again, having my own self-conscious and self-worth issues, I realized that, man, I got a lot of skills I didn't realize I could utilize. But music, ultimately, what happens is when I'm walking down at the Capitol in the committee floor, my boys are like, "Hey, when you playing again? Whose party are you playing at?" And they're so, all in all, it comes down to like music. People see me as that guy, even in the legislative stuff I'm doing, and that's really awesome because I get to be that guy. I get to be a fun, entertaining person, do what I love to do, make people happy, and then in the same time help our veterans in a very unique way, and be a part of our veteran serving community here in Louisiana. We have a pretty vast one, very strong, allied. We're not off in a bunch of silos. We're in a cohort hub manner. It's all about high tide lifts all ships model, and that's what you're doing here, and which is awesome, brother. It really is, and I think that's why one reason why I think you and I became such great friends is because we had the same vision to see music really be elevated, especially in Louisiana, but for Louisiana,
yeah,
So because
yeah,
we could
no doubt.
support Louisiana music here, but we want the rest of the world to see what we have here. And I'd like to see some of that increased, and that's kind of where I go back to some of the other work that I do.
Yeah, yeah. I got a few more for you, man. I want to kind of jump back in a couple of different spots.
Yeah,
Just because I think we skipped over maybe a couple things that I did want
maybe
to
10,
ask.
15 years. It's all good.
Back to kind of your career. Two questions about that. First of all, you've had the opportunity to write with some really great writers over the years in different periods. And are there any of the writers that you've been able to sit down with that just sort of had that knack for bringing things to life that you look back on?
Man, yeah, I mean, there's quite a few. The first one I'll mention is that I was the most impressed at was Walt Aldridge. Walt just passed away not too long ago, actually. It was really sad to see that. But Walt was one of those guys where you could sit down with him with an idea and he would come up with the most incredible formula of a thought to how am I going to build on that thought. Like, and I watched him do it in front of my face in no time, and I'm like, wait, I want to, I'm trying to contribute, but he's done shelled it out like right there in front of me, and I'm like, well, shit, I ain't gonna beat that line. So I just, he was the first, he was like the most impressive, I would say. Just it really stuck out. Didn't have a ton of experience with writing with him,
Yeah,
but got a couple of experiences with him. I mean, some of the biggest writers was Randy Owen. I mean,
yeah,
Randy and I wrote a song together that may come on this record. I'd like for it to. I really like for him to sing it with me. I think I could get him to do that. Um, the first person to teach me how to write was Jim McCormick from New Orleans, and Jim and I really taught me like what an arrangement looks like, the sort of the nuts and bolts of songwriting. He helped me get through my I really can't write a song stage to now, to I kind of give him the credit on me being taught how to write. Um, and then
Great dude, too, man. Yeah.
Jason Matthews was a big part too. Um, I had you know I didn't mention about my mentor, Dan Tyler, who helped me put out my first record. And Dan and I wrote a bunch, and Dan really showed me a different style of writing. Whereas, he was like Dad Gum was a totally different type of song than what I would say the standard song would sound like for me. And Dan was a big part of that. Like he was always fighting I'm not going to write like what radio wants to hear. I'm going to write what they think they want to hear, but I'm going to write what they want to hear in a year or 2 years. And so, but Dan still is a major part of my life when it comes to who I seek counsel and support from. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many. It's like I don't want to leave anyone out, but I mean, the Warren brothers, Mike Brignadello, the bass player from what was his band? Anyways, he was with Dan Huff and his band Giant. That was it. He was the bass player and writer of all of Dan Huff's original band stuff, which was they had a hit in the '80s or whatever. They were a hair band. But Dan Huff, who went on to produce records on everyone, in Nashville. So Mike was a big bass player in town on records, and he produced me for 5 years. So he and I wrote a ton together with all these really great writers. Mike really helped me and opened the door for a lot of those people. I mean, shoot, man, if I could give credit to all the people that were a part of my life and the supporters
Yeah.
in the industry side, it would be a long list. There were a lot of people that really, and I know I'm leaving out people, so I feel bad, but there were just a lot of people throughout those 15 years of kind of pushing in Nashville that really played a big part. Um, yeah. So, I mean, I think that's my long winded answer.
It's all good. The other one that I was going to ask you about the music stuff is, you had some opportunities to play some really cool stages over the years. Just one or two moments that you were like, man, that you kind of in the moment realized like this is pretty
Yeah.
special right here.
Yeah. I mean, Nashville Star, after the show, we all got to do a tour. And that whole tour was insane, dude. It was amazing. Like we got on a bus every Thursday, sometimes Thursday night, sometimes Thursday morning, depending on where it was. And we roll out. We did, I don't know how many dates. I can't even remember. Maybe 50 or 60 dates in a matter of about 3 months. Maybe 40, I don't remember, but it was pretty amazing. A lot of 10,000 type people.
I
Opened
remember
for
that. I
man, it
remember
was
that
so
song. Yeah.
badass, bro. And it was like, this is what I dreamed of doing, getting in a pre-boast with a crew and a sound guy and doing it for real. And a road manager. Our road manager is now Megan Maroney's road manager, which I shared with my daughters. That was a mistake because now they're like, we're going to Dallas and you got to get us backstage. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. But, and then our sound guy is now Purple Wayne, we called him. He's now Lee Bryce's road manager and been Lee Bryce's road manager for a long time. So, yeah, I mean, that was the biggest experience. And then after that was the coolest experience. I did have my biggest show was after that um, in 2011 when I was pushing 20 years late as a single, which is the only charted single. It was like 54 or something on Billboard. And thank you to the people who helped make that happen, the team and Barbara and Kay, Solar and Curtis and my family members who helped chip in and support for that. I mean, it costs a lot of money to try to break a single, especially as an indie artist, and the amount of investment is priceless because you really want to give back your heart, to those people who stepped up and did that, and really proud of the work we did. Even though I probably was not in the best place in my life. definitely wish that I was in a better place maybe now, but definitely feel like I was blessed to have the help that I had, and we had that single. And while we were on radio tour, we played Stockton, California for their big listener appreciation concert. Nikki Thomas, my girl, who's now in Knoxville, uh, she really hooked it up, man. I played in front of 30,000 people. It was the first time I'd ever been in front of that many people. And talk about life changing, bro. That's life changing. And so every time I'm at a show, I'm screwed, dude, because I look up and I'm like, I want to be there, not here. But God, whatever He's got in store,
Go
um,
with it, bro.
you
Yeah,
know, I,
it's his thing. That's right.
you know, I don't. We'll maybe close on what the plans are.
Yeah. Yeah, I've just got a couple more for you, man. I did want to ask you, coming back to the organization, how has working with the veterans and all of that through the organization, how has that changed you as a person?
I mean, bro, this is a big story. So I got to keep it really short. My trauma runs deep. It's early in my childhood. I dealt with some some abuse from not my personal my mom and dad or brothers and brothers, but we had some family trauma with abuse, with sexual abuse, and I did, and also had some a few other times where that happened to me as a child. And so that really changed my life. And all throughout all of everything we've talked about, I had this dark cloud in me that never really got any light shone on it. And so I was it was around that 2016-17 time when I started doing some work on myself, deep work, and including medicine work. I stepped out and really did some alternative medicine work around ayahuasca, which I'm not scared to talk about. I mean, I realized that I helped a bill get passed in our legislature because I had a conversation with one of our congressmen about it. And I mean, and it means a lot to me to know that. And so working with the veterans, I realize how unique I'm not, and how many of us have dealt with a lot of the same traumas, a lot of the same struggles. Somehow I stayed away from the drugs, seeing a lot of my friends go through drug addiction in a major way. I always had my own addictions, and yeah, I mean, I do have some of my own struggles, but it was never life altering drugs, that were going to kill me. And so, but that definitely, when I get in the room and I hear these veterans talk about their traumas, and I think, man, I can relate to that. Man, I can relate to that. And I think that just continues. I go through a therapy session every time I'm in the room with these veterans. I mean, it's literally a therapy session. And it's not like we do have sometimes we'll have a clinical social worker in the room to help with additional help need if they need to step out and have some one-on-one time or whatever. We always offer that as part of the workshop. But these workshops get deep, man. They get really, really deep. And you're just giving these people an opportunity to tell about their darkest stuff, or sometimes they talk about positive things, but we just give them that opportunity to turn their experiences into a more positive outcome through music and through songwriting. I'll make it quick, but we do like 3 hours of sharing. I'll tell my story, then they tell their story, and Susie's in the back just clicking away and of their stories. And then throughout that time, they've said something. They've all talked about something that has a unified message. It might be that we're all defenders. It might be that we're all addicts. It might be that we're all, whatever. And there's something that somebody said that stands out. And then we break for lunch, and then we go back after lunch. And during that lunch period, I'm already talking with Susie and my team, and we're coming up with either a hook, an idea. We've either written the chorus during lunch already, or I go to them and write the chorus with them. and then turn around and write the verses with them and kind of walk them through a guided songwriting. And the verses are typically about their lives and how they, it might be this guy's in this verse, or maybe the verse has two guys in it and it's two of their stories within that verse. And we, we just do it like a songwriting session, but sometimes with 15 people in it. So it can be a little chaos. So it takes a unique person to manage that. And we're currently looking for more songwriters in Louisiana who want to join our team as facilitators, because as you can imagine, 18 days doesn't seem like a lot, but when you got to go and record the song after the fact, and you prepping and building, it helps to have a team of people. So we're starting to get to a place where we can we bring on. We've started with one, and we're hoping to add some more as we go.
Yeah, well, a lot of artists watch this, so hopefully that'll get out to some people, man.
It pays. It's a paid gig. There's nothing. I
artists
never
like
asked my guys to do stuff for free. So
that. Well, man, I've just got just a couple more for you, real quick, man. You've been, and we'll get out of here, but you've been doing some shows in different places. I think, if I'm not mistaken, New York, and I think you got
yeah.
one coming up in Chicago, and this year with Chris and some others. And
Wayne
what does it
Toops.
mean? What is with Wayne Toops? What does it mean to you to represent Louisiana as an artist when you're in front of crowds in other states?
I love it. First off, I think that, I'm not the typical Louisiana like Zydeco or Cajun player. So I do have to bring a little, I think Wayne really fills this seat for that. I kind of come from that Ronnie Millsap swamp pop, or more swamp pop, soulful Van Morrison-y style with some rock and roll, and throwing in the country. But it means a lot. I didn't realize that it would go over so well. Denver was great. We had a really great experience. Every year, Travel Association brings us to a different city around the country, and so I'm hoping that you get to join us in Chicago this year. It'd be great for you to experience that. But when we were in New York this last October, that crowd really got into it, man. You had a bunch of New Yorkers up there, and it was a very mixed crowd, which is cool, man. Because again, you're like, man, I hope they like what I do, but you just go in there and do what you do, and you just give them everything you got. And in the end, they just I got tons of great response, and it was wonderful, and just the treatment of those people was just first class. I love New York City, so I was struggling to leave. I did not want to leave New York City. I mean, it's the New York, not the New York City you see on Fox News. I mean, I watch enough news myself, trust me. Because I mean, it's or on CNN, and I don't mean to point out Fox because that's where I watch news, but it's definitely. Um, it was a different vibe than what I expected. It felt
It's a great town, man. A
it's a
great
great
city.
city, and I got to see some friends up there that I know, and so I love being able to go out there and showcase the talent that Louisiana has birthed, and people like our lieutenant governor who continues to support those types of events and other events, and ambassador type models. I hope that I can continue to do that. I hope that we can continue to build that platform for more artists to do it, and help become as big as Lainey Wilson has, and Tim McGraw and Trace Atkins and those and Kix Brooks and all those artists that became huge stars. But we can also at the same time showcase how awesome Louisiana is, and food and the culture, and 'cause I'm all about it, baby. All about
all, the,
Louisiana.
all the things, bro. Well,
Yeah.
well, man, I know you talked about the book and all that. What can people expect coming up from you in the next 6, 12, 24 months?
Yeah. So I think by the end of the year, we should have the book wrapped up, at least for self-publishing. And I guess depending on if something changes there, we should be able to put it out. I was hoping by the end of the year, but it's looking more like the rest of the work has got to be done. We just had so much going on with the organization and growing that. So I'm actually in my first edits right now, which is a little harder than I thought it would be. There's a lot there, and so, but I'm working on this record. I've connected my relationship with my original producer, R.S. Field, Bobby Field, to produce the record. He's a Grammy-winning, producer, and so I'm excited about working with him. We will probably cut the record here in Louisiana, Dockside, probably, because I just love Dockside in Lafayette area.
Yeah.
And
Maurice,
keep,
yeah.
yeah, and
We've
keep it
been
in
there together.
Louisiana. I know.
Yeah.
And so I want to keep that Louisiana spirit of the record, keep the culture side of it, but at the same time, like I said, um, try to align the book and release of the book and the album to go together. Be a unique way to put it out there. I think, um, I guess, I'd like to tell you that you'll see me on the road probably next year. I would think that you'll probably start seeing me do a little bit more of the old school model of getting out there. But I think where I perform might be different than where I performed before. I may be doing more speaking events that have performance as part of it. And so I think that's kind of will be unique in the way that I go about it. I'm hoping at least maybe that's the goal. I think that's what God led me to do this book for and to help people see the triumph over tragedy. I can
Yeah,
hear my
dude.
boy talking in the other room. So he lost all sense of I'm going to stay quiet for daddy's podcast.
But luckily, we got the last question is, man, just super simple. Where can people find you, man, on socials and all that?
Yeah. So my name all squeezed together, David St. Romain, is everywhere. If you just go to davidsaintromain.com or you go to Facebook, you can just put in my name, David St. Romain, or you can, you know, uh, I think my link tree is active. I think, if you want to, you reach out to me regarding the organization. You can find that Songs of Survivors is at sosmusic.org. sosmusic.org is our website for the nonprofit organization. And so I'd love for you to check that out. We'd love any support that you could give, if it be connecting us with other people, other songwriters, partners. We never turn down a donation either. That always helps to keep the lights on. But really, David St. Romain, if you Googled me, you'll find me. I can promise you that.
Well, I'm just going to text you. That was for other people.
Yeah,
Nah.
that's better. Oh, speaking of texting, I know we're on Facebook. So if somebody who's from my texting platform, I do want to say I do have a texting platform that I use, Community. Um, you can, I don't know if I can give the number on here. I don't want to get us booted off,
No, do
but
whatever you need to do.
225 396 4166. If you send me a text, you can join my texting platform. You do have to subscribe. It is not, I won't add people's numbers that didn't subscribe. It's a subscription, but it's free. You can find out where I'm at when I'm live, all the plans, the things that are going on. I'm not active enough on it, but 225 396 4166 is the number.
Sounds good, bro. Well, I
All right,
definitely
brother.
appreciate you coming on, man.
Man, I'm proud, super, super proud of you. And anything I can do to keep helping and supporting Louisiana country music, let's rock and roll, baby. Let's do it.
I feel like we'll be seeing a whole lot more of each other soon. So that's a good thing.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, brother. Well, we appreciate it, man. Go take care of that boy.
Yes, I will. All right, man. Y'all have a good night. Take care. Thanks so much.
See, man. We appreciate you.
All right, later.
Dude. Later. All right, guys. John, what's up? I see you in there. Thanks for jumping in the comments tonight, man. I really always enjoy talking to my buddy. Like we said, we've been buddies for a long time, so it's always good to connect, and glad that you guys got to hear some of his story. Hope you enjoyed the show tonight. If so, make sure to tune in every Tuesday night. Dylan Wayne, what's up, brother? Denise, great seeing you on here, Denise. Hope to see you soon. Yeah, you guys make sure to tune in every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. And again, please make sure to follow, like, share, comment, and do all the things to help us show the world what Louisiana country is all about. Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless all of our Louisiana folks out there. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you next Tuesday night right here on Louisiana Country Music Live.